9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 3. Here we are. We're live.
Hello.
Thank you all for checking out this video. My name is Javier-Cerulli. I am a life book teacher, 2018, with Tamara Laporte at willowing.org. And also I am the author of Art Journal Your Archetypes, which I should have in my hand. And the author of Art Journal Your Archetypes,
which is on the way to my house now.
Oh yeah!
I ordered it, so I can't wait to see it.
For finding yourself. And the reason I was asked to join a life book this year is because of the archetypes with art journaling. And I am so happy today to chat with Effy Wild because she's also a teacher. And she just went through the process with me, as did Tamara and Sarah. Tamara Laporte and Sarah Trump are both in here, as long as a handful of other artists, art journalers. But Effy and I hung out. We did her archetypes, and she's going to show us her artwork in response to it. So, hi, Effy. Introduce yourself. Tell people what you do.
Hi, my name is Effy Wild, and I have been art journaling since late 2009. I started teaching in 2010. Because people started asking me, hey, can you show me how to do that? And I had the audacity to.
Oh no, Effy. 1 second, she'll be back. I think she'll be back.
Something happened to our connection, I think.
Yes, now you're back.
Okay. What did you catch?
That you started teaching.
Started teaching in late 2010, early 2011. And I've been teaching ever since. I've been in Lifebook every single year since its inception. Lucky me, like I'm so blessed. And I'm also in Tam's book, Create Your Lifebook. I have been teaching my own program since about 2011 as well. And every year I teach something called Book of Days, which is my signature offering.
Awesome. So can you, geez, I don't know. I'm so excited to see your artwork. But before we actually see your artwork, can you just, how was the process of learning your archetypes? The nice thing is Effy is, archetypal work is not totally brand new to her. So she had some background in it. But going through this process with me and getting clear about your 8 guiding archetypes currently for you, your loudest archetypes right now, how was that process personally and for your art journaling pages?
Yeah, it was really interesting for me because I've actually had an argument with a very, very close friend of mine for years about whether or not I'm an artist, right? This comes up all the time. I struggle with that terminology, artist, because for me, art, the creation of art is a kind of process. It's not the desired outcome for me. While I make pages that I really enjoy, that's not the point. The point is the process of art journaling. And I started art journaling from a place of being a blocked writer. So my primary artistic form has always been writing. And then art journaling came into my awareness because I really needed a way to unblock myself as a writer. So I still don't, like, I understand that I've built artistic skills over my years art journaling. And I understand that people look at my art and think, oh, she's an artist of, varying degrees of technical proficiency or talent. But I don't really resonate with the term visual artist. I think I'm definitely an artist, but not necessarily visual artist. And I don't think that artist is one of my archetypes. And when we explored that we realized that was the case.
It was just very interesting. So most of the folks that I've done interviews with for art journaling and for the book, of course, one of their 8 guiding archetypes is the artist, capital T, capital A. And Effy is one of the first ones, I think, that doesn't have one of the artist as her core. One of her cores is the writer, capital T, capital W, and also liberator, etc., which you'll find more when we go through the class, because she has said it's okay for me to share her archetypes. But she uses art as a vehicle, just like she uses writing as a vehicle. But it's not the so like I have the artist capital A, which I do art making all the time, and it's on my mind. It's where I spend my money, time, and energy. Um, it's product and process. But for Effie, it's a very different approach.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I was talking to, because the girlfriend that I've had this argument for years was Sarah Trump. And so I talked to her about our archetype session, and I said, we confirmed that artist is not one of my archetypes. And she said something really interesting to me, because she's been doing something for me over the last few months called beta reading. So every time I write something for a program that I'm teaching right now, she's first eyes on that content.
Nice.
She has grown to know my process much better than she did before through this process of beta reading for me. And she has learned that art is my yoga. So I'm not a yogini, I'm not an artist, but art is my yoga. That is where I go to stretch. That is where I go to process. That is where I go to integrate,
ground,
right? Center myself. So it is more a spiritual practice than anything else. And it's the art is more connected with my mystic,
right?
Which is another of my archetypes, and probably my seeker as well, because it's exciting for me to be a seeker as an art journaler, because there's so much to learn, so much to discover. So it really excites that archetype in me as well.
And the lover, possibly. Oh, and detective. I mean, we could keep going, but I can see all of those in there. And so this is really good information for people who are watching this, is you don't have to be the artist to be part of Life Book.
Right.
Or part of Effie's classes.
Right.
Or part of my classes. It's process. You will learn some techniques. And there are some definitely artists in there, but that shouldn't dissuade you from being involved in Life Book.
If I have anything to teach anyone about art journaling or art or mixed media, it's that you don't have to be an artist to begin. You don't. Right. And you never have to be an artist to get something out of the practice of making art. Now, there's some semantic, right? If you're making art, you're an artist, right? But I cook and I'm not a chef.
I wrote a book and I'm not the writer. So any kind of fears of your how well you can art and art making should be set aside, because we welcome, and we actually really like to engage folks who are using different parts of their brain.
Yes.
So with that, can you show your art journal pages? Which ones did you do? Which one did you do?
Well, I actually did, some of these are combinations. So this is a painting that I completed inspired by our session. And she's a combination of a couple of things. So she's got, the hermit is definitely in there.
Not antisocial, but definitely likes alone time. She's solo. Yeah. She's comfortable being alone.
Yeah. And then she also has the mystic, as represented by the lotus with 3 eyes. And these eyes are the detective.
Right? Oh yeah.
So even when I seem like I'm at peace and I'm still hypervigilant, no matter what is going on, no matter how peaceful I might be, I still got those eyes.
The connecting the dots, the figuring out. Yeah. That was my aha for Effie. I mean, I'm a new friend of Effie's, and so I don't have a lot of her background, but the big aha for me was like the detective. I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah. So this is definitely a combo deal of those 3 archetypes, and I'm sure that there are others in there. I think the lover is in her lips. It's in the softness of her mouth. But the liberator isn't really in here. And the reason for that is, after our session, I realized that my liberator isn't as core as my hermit. And so I work with tarot I've been working with it for over 20 years. And the hermit is my soul card. So in tarot, you use numerology with your birthday to break it down to your soul card. So the Hermit is actually my number one core archetype as far as numerology is concerned. And the Hermit holds up a lamp to light her own path. Now, the byproduct of that is the path is lit, but I'm not holding it up for anyone but myself, right? So the liberation that I sort of foster in other people, and I've been told that I'm a very liberating teacher, but that's a byproduct. The liberator is a byproduct of the Hermit for me.
Gotcha.
So she's not really in here like explicitly the liberator, but she's in here in the form of the Hermit.
Sure. And just quickly, what art materials did you use for that page?
This is a mixed media art piece that contains iridescent acrylic paints, fluid acrylic paints, Faber-Castell markers. I used a stencil to start this design. So this whole piece started as just the flower.
Okay.
Because I was really working with the mystic. And then as I was working, there came a point where my whole body wanted this to be a mask that I can put on or take off. So the face came after. So acrylics paints, iridescent paints, Faber-Castell markers, lots of Faber-Castell markers in here because I love to shade with those, and just black pen. And that was it. It's a fairly simple spread actually in terms of the mediums that I used.
Well, did you have a video on it, or did you not do video on this one?
I do. I videoed this. I actually did this for my people in Moonshine because it felt appropriate.
You did it for what?
My people in Moonshine, which is a class I'm teaching on art witchery. So they got this process.
Sweet. Okay, you said you had a second one?
I do. I just did this one today. So I really wanted to settle into the Hermit as the primary archetype.
Gotcha.
So I did this in my little mini journal, just to reflect how she feels. So this is an expressive self-portrait.
Slow down, be still.
And she's a very inward-looking person. This went out on my Facebook today that I'm not here to save anybody else's life, right?
Yeah.
I'm here to save my own. And everything that I do the initial impulse is very centered in the self. And so whatever I teach comes out of something that has happened that was centered in the self. So my vibe attracts people who have the same desires as I do around being really deeply, deeply connected with the self as beloved, as the primary relationship. Gotcha. So that's what the Hermit means for me. So she is a combination of mediums as well. She started as Stabilo all pencil on gesso.
Okay.
Which I then activated. And then lots of Caran d'Ache, Neocolor 2 crayon. Then fluid acrylics. Okay. And a very tiny touch of Faber-Castell marker, which I use a lot for shading. And then this is just black pen. And the design around the edges is made with just a white marker on a black background.
Oh, very, very cool. I love it. So it's interesting that the Hermit got honored in both of them, and then the Mystic Detective showed up on the big one. Very cool. So how, for people who are watching this, the connection between knowing your archetypes and art journaling is what to you? Like, now that you've done it and you've done the process,
I think it allows me to ask some questions about intention that I'm finding very powerful. So in a lot of my work, I work with parts of self. Parts of self is extremely important of my recovery process. Like I said, everything that's happening in all of my classes comes from an inner need that I have. I teach what I need to learn. That's how I operate. And one of the things that I have done a lot of work on over the years is self-integration. So parts of self and splintered or split off parts of self, and working with the kinds of dissociation that happen because of trauma. All of that has been very much a part of my process ever since I began. And while that started with writing, visual art has been much more effective in that integration because it bypasses the rational and gets you right into the symbolic, right? Takes you out of your head, puts you in your guts, right? So having these archetypes allows me to work with these parts of self as though they are characters in a story, so that I can turn them in my hands in a way, like I can really deconstruct them, and I can dialogue with them, and I can have a sense of their separateness that allows me actually to take them in better. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does.
When you love something deeply, right? That deep love, that sense of devotion, you can only get there through knowing it deeply, deeply well.
Yeah.
And so when you know your parts of self and you're intimate with them, and you can converse with them and ask them what they need and provide what they need, and behave in a devoted manner, that I think fosters an intense self-empathy and self-love. And I actually am a much bigger fan of self-compassion than I am of self-confidence. I think self-confidence can come from self-compassion, but I think you need to have that first. So all the work that I've done in my recovery from childhood abuse, from spousal abuse, early in my life, all of that is centered around developing self-empathy. And so working with archetypes gives me another avenue, because I can have empathy with the parts of myself that I may not feel very connected to. I can start to get to know them better, start to investigate with that detective. Who are they? Why are they there? What parts of my life do they hold as memories? How can I bring them into my work?
Like the seeker. I mean, like that would be one to really dialogue with. And a lot of people who are the rescuer, that's a big one. Or the visionary, what does that mean? So it's giving new vocabulary to
Self-reflection.
Self-reflection. Thank you. That was the word.
Really okay, because so for me, when I'm painting faces, I'm painting myself every time. It doesn't matter what I'm painting. I know I'm painting myself. As an artist who works in a journal, I am a dreamer dreaming the dream.
Right.
So every character in my journals is me, just like in dream interpretation, every character is me. So what this does for me is it gives me characters that I can engage with and get answers from, and it provides me with more options. Maybe I knew about my hermit, but I didn't really have a sense of the detective.
Right.
That was like, oh, that was an aha for me. I have the liberator. The liberator is more related to the hermit, and knowing that and understanding that, right, can allow me to run my business in a way that really is soulful.
And that's it. It's all why I want to do this, and why Tam got me on board, is for people to funnel down to self-acceptance and self-love. Yeah. And then you learn who you are and who you are not.
Yes.
And it's especially, most folks that I work with are over the age of 30. They've had some life to realize, wait a minute, I've been going the wrong way, or to understand exactly like why you're in your position you are today, because you made certain decisions, and those decisions were around your mother, being the mother, or being the advocate, or being the artist, or being the writer, or the liberator, or the hermit. I mean, Effie doesn't do live events for a reason. So not saying she'll never ever do it, but that's not her go-to.
No. Because the hermit in me requires me to, first of all, if I'm having social time, it's got to be one-on-one. Anything more than one-on-one gets overwhelming. And it's not that I can't handle it, or that I can't do it, or that I'm not pleasant in social situations. Right. I'm a wallflower. People are often very surprised to discover that I'm introverted to the degree that I am, because I do have a very positive and friendly, social, outgoing appearance at social gatherings, but they drain me to the point where I literally need the rest of the week off, just to be with myself in order to refuel. Yes. And knowing that, and having self-empathy for that, and then establishing boundaries that allow you to be that without judging yourself for it. That's huge.
Right.
That's
Right.
huge.
So this is great. And I hope people are interested in learning more about themselves this way, to work with inside their art journals, because so this is for the self-help folks. You're going to learn art techniques, and for the art world people, you're going to learn more stuff about yourself. So we hope that you join us on this life book journey for 2018. Effie, can you? So I'm just doing archetypes in August.
Yeah.
Effie, what will you be doing, in what months will you be doing it?
I'm not sure about my main. I forgot to look up the schedule. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. When's your first one coming up?
I have a bonus lesson. I think it's coming up in February.
Oh, sweet.
I just got notice too that they have everything they need for that lesson. So, and that one is a doodled garden meant to celebrate your friendships. So
Oh, yay!
find that one.
Perfect for February.
Yeah.
Nice.
Doodled floral with lots of different media.
I was gonna say there's some things on there that I'm not sure I know what the how it was made.
Yeah, so you'll have to wait for the lesson to come out. But it's meant to be a meditation on your friendships, so that you are using, I call it effort as offering. So what this is it's an expenditure of energy toward a desired outcome. So in this case, the energy that I expended with all the intricate doodles are meant to flow toward my friendships in the spirit of gratitude. So it's a form of magic. It's a kind of magic. And then later in the year, I'm not sure when, April, I don't know. I really don't know. I haven't checked the schedule. I know I'm supposed to be like working on it very shortly though. I'm doing a lesson called chiaroscura, which is chiaroscura is the word for darks and lights, especially in photography. So I'm going to be doing a piece on how our light self depends on our shadow self, that you can't have light without the darkness, that so much of the time our light arises out of our darkness. So in an art technique sort of way, I'm going to be working with lights and shadows, shading a face, figuring out what, where the light falls on the face. But then as far as the healing component, it's going to be which of your shadow parts inform your light.
Oh,
yeah. So it's going to be.
Yeah, you read any Debbie Ford? This was like her big. Oh, that was her big. She was a leader of that. That embracing your shadows and understanding your shadows, because, like,
I think for me, come out of like years and years of journaling, working with the Artist's Way, also working in the realm of neo-paganism. We do a lot of shadow work as pagans. We work with disconnected parts of self and reintegrating them. I also consider myself kind of a Jungian witch. I like to work with Jung as sort of my like what I learned. Yeah, what I learned from him allows me to work with the woo-woo in a very deeply personal and psychological way. So it's, for me, it's not like, I don't believe in the supernatural. If it's happening, it's natural, right? But I do work with the collective unconscious. I work with tarot. I work with mandala. I work with the idea of self-actualization, of bringing the shadow into the light as a way of integrating the whole self. So no part of me gets left behind. So that's always been a very big part.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for hanging out, and I'm sure everybody's excited about your upcoming classes.
My pleasure.
Check her out for her class, Book of Days, over at Effy Wild. And I will see you, and we will see you on Lifebook. Thank you so much. Bye.